Houston, what's up? This is attorney Cory Roth. Over the past few days, I've had an unusual amount of calls about people, citizens, members of our community, just like you, being arrested in public parks and being searched in public parks. So here's just some basic rules if you happen to be in a public park. If it's a city of Houston, county, even a neighborhood park, there's usually going to be signs posted near the exits and entrances of that park. And the park should have a sign that says when it's open and closed. Usually it's dawn till dusk. So first way to keep out of trouble when you're inside of a park is to not be there during nighttime hours. Once the sun is going down, it's time for you to leave that park. That may be hard to do in times like this when it's daylight savings just started November, October, December. But it's the wise thing to do, because if you're in that park, officers could have a reasonable suspicion that you're trespassing, possibly not obeying the posted rules, and up to no good. And a lot of time, young people are, hanging out at a park up to no good because they can't be up to no good up at their houses. So if an officer approaches you, before we get there, don't play your music loud, especially if there's a park near a neighborhood and there's neighbors nearby. Most of these parks are patrolled by precinct or HPD or sheriff officers. So do what you can do to minimize your interactions with the police. It's very important to do what you can do to minimize your interactions with police, because something very simple and silly and stupid can escalate. And actually, 2 of the 3 calls I've gotten in the past few days are about marijuana in the park, and people are surprised. Man, what? I didn't think they would arrest me in Harris County for possession of marijuana. Well, there's some exceptions to that, and one of those exceptions is if you are in a drug-free zone. A drug-free zone includes schools, probably colleges, public parks. Public parks are one of those things. So if you have any amount of weed and you're within 1,000 feet of a public park, that's a pretty big distance, you're going to go to jail. The officers cannot just write you a ticket and get you into that first chance program. So let's say you're in a park, you're jamming music, an officer rolls through. Close your doors. Get out of your car and close your doors right away, especially if there's marijuana inside, okay? You don't want to run, but just exit your vehicle calmly. Close the doors so that there's no odor of marijuana. Because what these officers are saying is, I smelled the odor of marijuana. One of my first trials was exactly like this in Harris County, and it was the very first body cam trial. And I got a not guilty verdict on that. Actually, it was a mid-trial dismissal, arguably better than a not guilty verdict, because I showed that the cough he didn't smell nothing. He didn't smell anything. Coming from that car, even though there was weed in that car. He didn't smell it from where he was. It was impossible. So close your doors. Don't smoke in public. Don't leave, tobacco from a blunt on the ground underneath where your car is parked, right next to the driver or passenger side door. And if an officer does talk to you, be nice and refuse a search, because once you give an officer permission to search, they're going to find what's in your car. They're going to find what's in your car, even if it's hidden someplace smart, like the driver, the drive shaft or the steering wheel column. They're going to find it. So you don't have to give them permission. You actually have the explicit right to say no, and you have to give up that right for an officer to search you if they don't have probable cause. If they have probable cause, meaning they can smell the weed, then they're going to search without asking for your permission. But if they find a bag somewhere in that car, don't admit to it being yours. If you really want to get out, you don't have to admit to it being yours. Sure, maybe the prosecutor, at least in a weed case in Houston, Harris County, a prosecutor will say, you know what, he was on. I'll point out. I say, look, he or she was honest with the police. Give them, cut them a break. Let's do a drug class, a little bit of community service, and dismiss it. And I got one of those today for a very nice young client. But the point is, if you're in a park, leave before the sun goes down, because you're just asking to get, have an interaction with the police, and you never know how that's going to turn up. Might be an officer that says, hey man, throw it out and get out of here, don't come back. Or it might be an officer that says, you know what, I'm going to arrest you because I can or because I'm supposed to. Don't consent to searches. It's never going to help you out. Even if you, well, I can spin it anyway. But do not consent to a search. And if an officer is going to arrest you, ask him if somebody else can drive your car home. You know, it's going to have to be somebody with insurance. Or your car at least has to be insured. But ask him if so-and-so, you know, hey, man, can my friend drive the car home? Or, hey, do you mind? My dad can be here in 5-10 minutes. Can we wait so he can drive the car home? That'll prevent the officers from doing an inventory search, which is to protect your property. But really, they're going to be looking for drugs and guns and things like that. My name is Cory Roth. I'm a Houston-based criminal defense attorney. I love drug cases. I love all kinds of cases. Give me a call, 713-864-3400. Visit my website, www.attorneyroth.com. That's attorneyroth.com. Take care. Be safe. Holidays are coming around. Make sure you don't drink and drive because the police are going to be out there and you don't want to hurt anybody. And you don't want to go through a DWI. Take care. Bye.